That, Jody Vance, is my insanely wonderful dad, Dennis, and his long-term care home in Surrey. And I go visit him a couple of times a week because he's got dementia. And it's been a long, difficult journey. And in fact, people who say, why did you quit CKNW? Yeah. I quit because I wanted to spend time with my dad. And I'm the only family member here now. And it just broke my heart that I was not there enough for him. And he's just like a little fragile chicken who I love. And his eyes light up when he sees me.
Clearly.
And I have had 12 years of a dementia journey. My mom had Lewy bodies, dealt with that, then she passed in 2015. Year and a half later, Dad got diagnosed with Alzheimer's, and I know that you know this story.
I know, it makes my heart pound though, because what our personal journey has been, and now we share it with our audience, and someone watching right now is inching into this. Mm-hmm. And there's so many lessons that you have taught me. As I went through the journey with my dad, he passed away last year after a long battle with Alzheimer's, and I will viscerally remember the day that I thought it would break me when I was at work, filling in at CKNW, and you were there for me, and you just grabbed me and hugged me and said, it's gonna be okay. And it's so difficult. It really is such a challenge, emotional, as you can see. However, in talking about it, there is power. And that's one of the reasons why I got involved after Dad's passing with what was formerly known as PARF, Pacific Alzheimer's Research Foundation, has become Clear Alzheimer's. And you may or may not have seen this public service announcement that I was a part of. There are two truths about Alzheimer's. Everybody's experience is different, and there is no cure. For nearly a decade, I was on an Alzheimer's journey with my dad, and only so that is my kitchen. I'm literally sitting in my kitchen showing pictures out of my photo album of my dad, Bill Vance, who asked me, as a member of the media, as a journalist, to use his story to educate others about what it was like to be in it. And really, honestly, off the top of that PSA, I think the most important piece of this is it is different for everyone, and there is no cure, which is why we're doing this segment to add awareness.
We're talking about it because some new numbers are out that are like astonishing. So if you don't know anything about dementia or have any, connection in your life to it, you will, because they are saying that by the year 2030, 1 million Canadians will have dementia, which is a 65% increase from 2020, and that by 2030 there will be 1.7 million. So we are going down a kind of big gray wave of people who are going to be suffering with this particular disease. We need a cure.
We need action.
There is no cure, and we need money, and that's why we're talking about this today, and that is why we have a very special guest in studio with us. This is Una de Boer with Clear Alzheimer's. Thank you so much for coming in.
Oh, thank you for having me.
Tell us about Clear Alzheimer's. What is it?
So Clear is a charity that is got a wonderfully single-minded purpose. We are 100% dedicated to funding research. We believe that if we invest and we empower scientists with funding, we can find a cure. We've seen it happen for other diseases. Alzheimer's and dementia illnesses, 1/10 is spent on research than the comparator of cancer.
1/10?
1/10.
Let's just let that sink in for a second. 1/10 of the funds that are put into the research, because I often use the analogy when talking about Clear Alzheimer's, is I say it's like the Terry Fox Foundation of dementia, because Terry Fox really was driven towards the research piece. When you donate money to the Terry Fox Foundation, it's going to the mission of finding a cure, not overhead and staffing, because Clear Alzheimer's is a volunteer foundation.
So the board are entirely volunteers. So I head up the Marketing and Communications Committee, which is where I get to speak to you guys.
Yeah, we're happy to have you there.
And we're all volunteers, and we're bringing our expertise because many of us have been touched by Alzheimer's, our families. And I think that, unfortunately, because of those numbers, that's going to be a case for so many families. We have millions of people who are going to be affected. And as your story says, it affects the carers almost
Yeah.
as much as it does the sufferers.
Yeah.
It is a terrible diagnosis for everyone involved. 100 Canadians a day are being diagnosed with Alzheimer's or dementia.
100 a day.
100 a day. And that's 100 families every day.
Yeah.
And that's having an impact on our economy as well as those individuals.
They're saying 1.4 billion caregiving hours is what we're looking at in Canada. So my question to you too is, we saw during COVID, we saw governments around the world push trillions of dollars into fast research to get COVID vaccines. Why can't we do that for dementia?
I wish we could, and that's what Clear is here for. So if people can donate every little bit, 100% of that, and there's very few charities that can say that, 100% of what you give goes into the research, and that's what we're here for. And so it's wonderful to be able to be here today and tell people about Clear, because it is a local BC charity with what we hope will have global solutions.
Great
Imagine
reach.
we find that cure through the funding. And if it's not a cure, treatments that
Something.
can help people just stay present for that much longer.
And that's a piece of this that I think is really important in the learning that the journey that we're on, and the awareness piece. And it was World Alzheimer's Day this
yesterday.
week. It was
Yeah.
yesterday. In fact, if you're watching this on Thursday, we do replay on the weekend. But World Alzheimer's Day is important, but every day is important when it comes to the awareness piece. And oftentimes there's a lot of shame associated with the diagnosis, and the want for people to do something. So if you don't say outwardly what you're going through, perhaps a donation might be some actionable.
Sure.
Absolutely. And if you are a family who's suffering this, it's, I think, a proactive thing you can do. Because, as you said in the numbers, we have an aging population. 41% of Canadians are over 55, and that's a number that's growing. And so those numbers, you become in the highest risk area of an Alzheimer's diagnosis in those following decades.
Yeah.
So the numbers are just going to get worse. If we start putting more into research now, maybe we can do something, if not for this generation, for the next.
Because all the boomers, people are getting older, we are moving down that road, and so many more families are going to start to have a story like ours. Do you get a tax donation if you
Absolutely.
donate? Yeah.
So all donations, you'll get a tax receipt,
Yeah.
and it's clearalzheimers.ca/donate. I think the URL is going to be on the screen.
There it is.
Yeah.
Look
There
at you
you
called
go.
for it. You're an
Magic,
unofficial
yeah.
co-host all of a sudden. That's fantastic. And it really is about every little bit, because affordability is an issue. There's no question. And there are people, I cannot imagine having not had the resources to support my dad through
Yeah.
this. And that is part of this as well. So understanding that we're asking a lot of.
And we do recognize that, which is why we keep our costs so low and put 100% of that money. So whatever you give is going to be making a difference in funding research. So
Thank you so much for what you're doing on behalf of me and my family too. Very much appreciate it.
Oh, you're
Thank you for
welcome.
coming in.
Thanks so much for having us.
Appreciate it. That is Una de Boer from Clear Alzheimer's. If you can donate $5, $20, $10, anything, that would be greatly appreciated. But we're going to switch gears to something much lighter, because coming up next on Steel and Vance, they're back. Giddy up. Jody,
No.
it is. The stirrup pant is making a return in 2022, along with some other, let's say, very questionable fashion choices. Stay tuned for that.